The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, you'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
The North Kesteven series is sponsored by Gainsborough Cycles 01427 617 752. For all your cycling needs, this is your one-stop shop located at 20 Ropery Road, Gainsborough, or online at gainsboroughcycles.com. There's a link in the description. Gainsborough Cycles, ask for Trevor Halstead. Hello folks, welcome back to North Kesteven. All this week I've got 7 more parishes for you out here, which will cut in half the number that remains. Now here's a question for you, a bit of a conundrum actually. How can you be stood in 2 villages at the same time? Well, if you ever visit this place, you are standing in 2 villages at the same time. There were 2 and they've now become 1. I'm going all Spice Girls on you today. This is Willoughby. Willoughby Gully at Willow Tree Farm. We have just 14 left to visit in North Kesteven. By the end of this week, that number will have been cut in half. We're spending a full week out here ticking off some of the smaller ones that remain. First up, we have Willoughby. Located 2 miles away from Sleaford, Willoughby has one of the more interesting names we've ever come across. Willoughby is easy enough, that means Willow Tree Farm, but it's the silk bit that confuses people. Nobody is absolutely certain about it. The professionals reckon it could mean a gully or a ditch, but others believe it to be a reference to a lost village, namely Silkby. Whatever the case, Willoughby is a simple enough settlement. It lies on a crossroads with the westernmost and the easternmost arms stretching for lengthy distances through some 20th century council housing and rented properties. The old nucleus of the village is around the centre of the crossroads. There you can find an ancient wayside cross dedicated to St Matthew. It's right next door to the old school, which today serves as the village hall. On the other side of the crossroads is the exquisite church of St Denis. Among the most notable people to have lived in Willoughby is Griffin Money, a Nationalist Party member of the Legislative Assembly of Western Australia from 1917 to 1924. He was born in the village in 1865. There's a bit of wartime history to discuss too. Several air accidents occurred here, including in June 1944, a B-24 which crashed into a field after being abandoned in mid-air. There's no doubt then that Willoughby has a lot to talk about. Let's get walking. We begin our journey through Willoughby at the western end of the village, a long old way from the central crossroads that defines the old core. Most of the village at this point is residential. There are a number of council and rented properties in addition to some owner-occupied housing, both old and new. This is School Lane. Whilst this is pleasant enough, it's the central core around the crossroads where many of the listed buildings are, including a manor house and a former rectory. That said, School Lane has been here for some time, and it's had more than its fair share of historical finds. Shards of medieval pottery and a medieval seal were once found in a garden on this very road. Scatters of medieval ware have also been found in various fields around the village. A medieval iron key and a Queen Anne silver shilling from 1708 were also found. The village is relatively small, despite this lengthy western arm. Willoughby itself only accounts for a small portion of the 2,500 acres of mostly arable and grazing land covered by the parish. It's a pretty little place and people clearly like it. The former village of Silkby lies within the parish, occupying the western reaches of the modern settlement. Historians reckon Willoughby was the original village located at the crossroads. The name Willoughby is first mentioned in the Domesday Book. It belonged to several people, including the bishops of Durham and Lincoln, Gilbert de Gat and Odo the Arblaster. Willoughby and Silkby would later combine to form Silk Willoughby. It's unclear when this merger happened, but the generally accepted date is sometime in the 15th century. Well, I tell you what, I seem to have walked that little stretch a bit quicker than I thought. It's not as long as I first thought on the map. Never mind, it means we're just at the landmarks a bit quicker. Behind me, we have the first of those. This is Willoughby's village hall, but as you can probably tell, this never began its life as a village hall. This was something else. Here's the reason why School Lane has its name. This building is the old school and schoolmaster's house, which these days serve as Willoughby Village Hall. As a school, this opened in 1858. That fact is confirmed by a door lintel with the date inscribed upon it. There was almost certainly a school in Willoughby before this one though. Although White's Trade Directory in 1856 does not mention a specific school building, it lists a Mrs. Anne Healy as a school mistress. The school closed in 1971 and the village hall was established 8 years later on May the 23rd, 1979. Ever since, it's been run by the Willoughby Village Hall Management Committee. This humble little building serves as a community space for various activities, including meetings, lectures and leisure events aimed at improving the quality of life in Willoughby Village. So I'm pretty sure you'll have noticed that the post office is located at the village hall these days, that little brick building that's behind the old school. The old post office is the next thing you pass along the road towards the church. It's here. Number 8. There it is. At the end of the road we meet the central Crossroads, and that's where we find the shaft of a medieval wayside cross. This is dedicated to St Matthew and it stands on a modern base. It's believed it's sited in its original location and it shares this spot with a later village pump. It's a very fine cross with carvings on all 4 sides of the socket stone. The corners are carved with further animal figures, although some are now damaged and eroded beyond all interpretation. That's a result of years of erosion and weathering. The top surface of the socket stone has a pattern of small holes, possibly where railings would have been fixed at one time. The top of the stone is mainly flat and there's a chunk missing on the eastern side. The full surviving height of the shaft is approximately 1.37 metres. As for the pump, it was built in 1897 and would have been where villagers got their water before the days of pipes. It was built in memory of Reverend W.H.E. McKnight and was restored in 1973. Okay, so if you were to head north from this point here, you'd be heading towards a garden centre. Now that's going to be our last port of call at the end of this episode, up there where this lorry is coming from. So we'll see that in a bit. Next job is to head straight over the crossroads and onto Church Lane, because the church is hiding behind that tree right there. To the church now, and this one's dedicated to St Denis. This was built in the 12th century in the decorated style and extended in the perpendicular style 200 years later. Since then it's been extensively restored, the last time being in the early 20th century. It has a beautiful tower and spire and a spacious interior. The chancel was rebuilt in 1878 by Hodgson Fowler. Inside there's a Norman font and some fine 14th century carved bench ends. The stained glass of the east window dates from 1897. Like the pump, that too is a memorial to McKnight. The tower contains 3 bells and a clock placed in 1904 at a cost of about £100. That was done by Mrs. Amelia Money of the Manor House as a memorial to her family. There are also numerous tablets to the Manners family and a brass to former rector John Lee, who was around in the late 17th century. To the west of the church there are 2 bowl barrows named Butt Mound and Folk Moot. Although visible, years of agriculture have reduced them somewhat. Much like the ones we discussed on School Lane, the churchyard has too seen some interesting finds. A Nuremberg jeton was once discovered in here. Jetons were not coins or any kind of currency. Rather, they were counters used on a board to perform sums. Mostly, they were a way of recording tenants' rent payments and debts. Just south of the church on the main London road is the village's one and only pub. This is the Horseshoes. The number of horseshoes in its name has varied over time. The pub was listed in White's Directory in 1856, where it's referred to as the Four Horseshoes. At some point though, it must have lost one because modern maps refer to it as having 3. Most people refer to it simply these days as the Horseshoes. You're always guaranteed a warm welcome at this pub, and they do good food too. The same entry in that 1856 directory lists the owner of the pub as Thomas Money, a farmer and victualler. That's twice now we've mentioned members of the Money family. Whilst they were numerous in and around Silk Willoughby, one member of their family stands out more than most: Griffin Money, who my Australian viewers may have heard of. Griffin Cant Money is Silk Willoughby's most famous son. He was an Australian politician and Nationalist Party member of the Legislative Assembly of Western Australia. He held the role from 1917 to 1924, representing the seat of Burnbury. Born in the village in 1865, he moved to Australia in 1898 and initially settled in Perth, where he practiced law. In 1910, he purchased a property of 12,000 acres at Burcup in the state's southwest region. He later acquired farms at Dinnieup and Waterloo. Money's first attempt to enter politics was at the 1914 state election, but lost to the sitting Labour member for Burnbury, William Thomas. He reversed the result at the 1917 election. Money was defeated by Labour's Frederick Withers in the 1924 election, and after leaving politics, he returned to his Burcup property. He died in Burnbury in 1958, aged 93. Okay, so just beyond the pub we've got this little stone which tells you some awards that Silk Willoughby has won in the past. So in 2007 it was the Class 1 winner in the Lincolnshire Best Kept Village and Small Town competition. In 2013 it was the Best Kept Village and Small Town Campaign to Protect Rural England Class 1 winner, and at the bottom there, the same competition, it won in 2014, so it was a repeat winner. Brilliant, defended its title. Excellent stuff. Last on our list in this one is Pennell's Garden Centre, located on the road to Sleaford. You may remember Pennell's from the Thorpe on the Hill episode. If you want to learn a bit more about the history of the company, I went into detail in that video, so it's linked for you in today's end screen. This, their Silk Willoughby branch, is called Four Seasons, which they acquired in 2018. A year later, they submitted a planning application for a significant expansion. Their intention was to almost double the centre's size. However, the application was withdrawn after receiving around 50 objections from local residents. They expressed concerns about increased traffic and the impact on the village's character. Concerns were raised about it being a death knell for the village. Regardless, Four Seasons remains a key local employer and one of the first Silk Willoughby landmarks you see on the road out of Sleaford. That's going to do us for Silk Willoughby, and now it's time to head south. We've got 2 more to cover in this southwestern portion of North Kesteven, and within them are 5 tiny villages. Come back tomorrow for the first 2, and be careful how you're pronouncing the name of one of them if you're not a local. Now, just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.